What's up, y'all? Erroneous here, back with another Godforge video, and in today's video I'm going to be going over the affinity basics. I want to go over all the different affinities in this game currently and how each one synergizes with one another. So let's get into it. Alright, so affinities. What are affinities and how do they impact the game currently? So affinities are based on your hero type, and affinities can be seen as different colors or names. So strength will be the red affinity type. Then we've got wisdom, which is the blue affinity type. We've also got cunning, which is the green affinity type. We also have, lastly, eternal, which is the purple affinity type. Okay, so 4 different affinities in total, and each one of them impacts the other one in a certain way. So currently I am in phase 1 of the alpha. It will be noted at the top in the corner. Hercules, he is red affinity, one of my favorite heroes in the entire game. Of course, he is a slightly bugged, but a lot of heroes are bugged right now, and they are set to be fixed in the future for Wave 2 and Wave 3. And of course, there's going to be very little to no bugs upon release of the actual game. So starting off, as you can see, we're going to start with strength. So strength, you can see an arrow points towards the blue, which is the wisdom. And the blue points towards the green, which is cunning. And then cunning points towards strength, so on and so forth, with eternal encapsulated in the middle. So with strength, it says here, now it doesn't matter, it could be from strength, it could be from the wisdom, you can read it from here as well. It just shows a difference in the actual affinity at the top. So starting with the strength, going into wisdom. So strength going to wisdom just means that strength is greater than wisdom, and then wisdom is greater than cunning, and then so on and so forth. Cunning is greater than strength. Heroes. So affinity positive effects. 30% chance to strong hit, which increases damage by 30%. The affinity negative effects. Now the positive effects means the strength heroes have a 30% chance to strong hit against a wisdom hero, which is the weaker affinity to them, and increases their damage to wisdom heroes by 30%. And that goes so on and so forth for wisdom into cunning and cunning into strength. Now the affinity negative effects, the 30% chance to weak hit, which cannot be critical. That means if you take a strength hero such as Hercules and you put him up against a cunning hero, which is green affinity, so someone like this chick right here, Isis, who currently is really bugged in the game. She's disgusting healer. She's actually one of the best healers and revivers in the entire game. Basically, Hercules is going to have an extremely tough time to kill this hero. Almost impossible to kill her with a Hercules. It is possible, but it's almost impossible because of how much healing she can add to herself, as well as getting weak hit because of the negative affinity impact because of the Hercules. I'll read the rest of it. Reduces the damage by 30% and prevents placing negative effects. So that's really bad. If you can't place negative effects, which is debuffs, on a target like that consistently, or just effects in general, it can be challenging. So if you get a weak hit, you won't place debuffs. Okay, so just be very careful. Now, eternal heroes, if you go with a strength up against an eternal, we have a 10% chance to strong hit, which increases the damage by 30%, okay? And then can never weak hit against an eternal hero, but at the same time, eternal heroes can never weak hit against any other affinity. So if we go to an eternal, let's take for example Odin Feyfather, who is a decent hero in game. He will never hit a weak hit unless for some reason there is a debuff or something that impacts him in the future. If there are characters that allow decreased critical rate on characters, so on and so forth, whereas he just won't hit the critical potentially. He just will never weak hit still, but he might not strong hit. Really interesting there with regards to synergies between all the affinities. And of course, you're going to want to be careful when you're going into different stages. All right, so taking a look at the stage 119 with regard to affinities and the heroes on these stages, if you take a look at the main picture of this hero here, If you know who the hero is, then you know which affinity that hero is. This hero, I know who it is. Mildred is going to be a cunning hero, which is green affinity. So if we go into a green affinity, let's just throw in 4 different affinities just to showcase each hero and what their interactions are like. So if I throw in an Eternal, Aphrodite, Ra, who is wisdom, we've got Hercules, who is strength, and we've got Dracula, who is cunning. Let's take a look and showcase to you what it looks like on screen when you're actually fighting against enemies, and in terms of affinities and the basics of what you need to look for when you're looking at the heroes that you're about to attack. If we see an enemy that is yellow, that means you are a neutral affinity to them. If it's an Eternal, then they have a chance to strong hit, okay? And they'll never ever weak hit. So because I have an Eternal hero here, what I'm going to do is put a speed up as well as a counterattack on this one, or an ally attack rather. So when she does an ally attack, it teams up and hits this person here or this person here. So I'll hit with her, boom. We hit a weak hit with Ra and a normal hit with the Aphrodite. So weak hit with Ra just means that unfortunately Ra's negative affinity to this hero, and we know that this hero is red affinity because Ra is a wisdom blue affinity hero. So now I have Dracula, and you can see with these arrows as well, these arrows tell you what the significance is with regard to, are we weak against that hero in terms of affinity, or are we neutral, or are we strong? Okay, do we have a positive impact when we do damage to this hero? So with Dracula, he's as an A1 2-hitter. If I go into this guy here who's red affinity and Dracula's green affinity, we're positive, and the arrow says we're positive because it's green. So we double hit him. We have a 30% chance to hit a crit, or a strong hit rather, and we did not do that there, unfortunately. So it's probably just because I don't have the maximum crit cap, which is 100, and so because his critical rate is low, he's not hitting the strong hits or the critical hits. So in terms of Ra, he's only going to be strong against this one. He's positive against this one, and then negative against the rest, because these 3 are red affinity, which is strength, and this one is going to be green affinity, which is cunning. So Ra, if we go here, boom, he critical hit, 27,000 damage. Okay, very, very hard hit. Now he can strong hit, but that's kind of the basics. We are neutral with Hercules because Hercules is red affinity. So Hercules can get a strong hit. The only one that can get a strong hit always is going to be the Eternals. So with him, if it's a negative affinity versus positive affinity. So if it's neutral affinity, it doesn't actually say. Positive affinities just goes over positives and negative affinities. If it's a neutral affinity, you cannot strong hit. You can critical hit, you just cannot strong hit, unless you're an Eternal hero and you have 10% chance of strong hit. So that'll increase the damage by 30% and can never weak hit. So only a 10% chance on the Eternal heroes to strong hit, whereas you have a 30% chance on positive effects or positive heroes versus their counterpart. So it's actually better to synergize with red affinity versus blue affinity for those waves, rather than bringing in a bunch of Eternals. Now you could bring in a bunch of Eternals and it's just easy because they're just god tier, but you do want to try your best, if you don't have Eternals, if you don't have the strongest heroes, to try to synergize based on affinities and use a lot of crowd control debuffs if need be. Anyways, that's going to be it for the affinity basics. I hope you kind of understand the gist of it. If you have any questions or you want to learn more about affinities, feel free to put some comments down below, and I will try to get to those comments as quickly as I can. Also, check out my previous video on beating the Golden Guardian on floor 120 for the Alpha Wave 1. If you want to get into alpha testing, then go ahead to the fateless.gg website. You can try to get into the Wave 3 if you sign up today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on a video soon. Take care.